faith stories.
My now wife Chelsea was like, "Hey, you're coming to church with me on Sunday," and I was like, "All right, I've been looking at the Bible. Let's do this."
Fishing memories.
When I first started, I was just fish, focus on the fish. And I see the kid catch a fish, I'm like, good job, perfect, awesome. And then he goes up there and I'm like, we're catching slot snook. And this kid's up here going, oh, the breeze. I'm like, this is exactly what it's about.
Meaningful conversations.
You have to stay in the Word. You have to have a good support system. You have to know what the end goal is. You have to know who God is.
Positivity. This is the Faith and Fishing Podcast. Your hosts, Cam Steele.
If your identity is you're an angler, whenever you're not doing well in the water, that's whenever you can't be content.
And Robert Randolph.
And his timing is perfect. We might not always agree with it, and we might not always understand it at the moment.
Bring you interviews with some amazing guests from the fishing community and discuss all things to do with fishing and their faith. Welcome to the family.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
Hey, and I'm Robert.
And it is just going to be us tonight. And we are, today, this morning, whenever it is you're listening to this. This could end up being an interesting episode, a different episode. But first, got a couple of housekeeping things I wanted to share with everybody. First, last week we announced that we will be doing a live show for the podcast birthday. And that's going to be the 17th of April. So like I said, last week, the 14th of April, 2020 was the first episode of the podcast that it aired. We're just going to be doing a little celebration there. We're going to be doing a giveaway, going to be, inviting a whole bunch of different guests on to kind of share some experiences and everything, and talk about some different things. Guests that have kind of helped make this podcast what it is. And if it ends up being just me and Robert, then we'll have just as much fun. But yeah, we're going to be doing that. Wanted to also announce that, Robert and I, a few weeks ago, got to be interviewed on another podcast called Field Quiver Outdoors. We had Jody Thibodeau on a few weeks ago and had a really good time there. So he invited us on his podcast, and that episode dropped the week that this is being recorded. So definitely go check out that. It's like I said, the Field Quiver, and we get to go on there. We share our testimonies. We talk about the podcast a little bit, and he had some questions on getting started in kayak fishing tournaments that we got to talk about too. So that was a lot of fun. Make sure you go check that out. Robert, you got anything else?
Nope. Good to go.
All right. Well, last week, Robert, you were not with us on the podcast because you were getting ready for Lake Murray, the Bass. What is it? The Bassmaster Kayak.
Yeah, the Bassmaster Kayak Series. So,
okay. How did that go, brother?
Well, you know what? I had a good time.
There you go.
And I didn't catch a whole lot of fish, and but the people that kind of went out of the side of the lake, or the spots on the lake that I did, it was pretty tough fishing. I do know that one guy that went out of our ramp did okay, but I also know that he's a South Carolina guy, has a lot of history on that water. I'm sure he had just a couple of spots that he knew was going to produce for him. So I went down, and hats off to Cam for rolling solo last week, I kind of texted him last minute and said, "Hey man, I'm running behind. I'm trying to do a few honeydews. I'm still not packed all the way, and I really wanted to get on the road early on Thursday because I wanted to have all day Thursday, all day Friday to pre-fish because the 3 national tournaments that I did in 2022, I felt like the pre-fishing was not long enough. And on one of those, I did 3 days. One of them I did 2 days, and one of them I did 1 day. My best showing was the one I did 3 days, and then the other 2 were not good. So Lake Murray this time kind of followed suit with those last 2, only having 2 days to pre-fish. I did get to leave on time Thursday morning. I got down to Lake Murray about 7:30 after leaving here about 4 a.m. or so. It was about 3.5 hour to 4 hour drive. So got down there about 7:30. I had 3 ramps I wanted to hit on Thursday. I hit all 3 of those ramps, and I can safely say I'm pretty sure I didn't have a bite. I didn't hit a stick that I thought was a bite. There was no mistaking that I did not find any fish on that first day. So after that, I went to the campsite, set up the campsite, and myself and Alex Sterling met up with Dontrell Sullivan, and they had a kind of a meetup on Thursday night at one of the local Lake Murray country. Those people recommended some places to have the meetup at. So we went there, got some food, got a good cheeseburger, and talked kayak fishing. There was probably maybe, I don't know, 30 people at the meetup on Thursday. Talked to Steve Owens a little bit, and had some good conversation, good time hanging out. Went back to the campsite, got up, pre-fished again on Friday, and then this time went out of a different ramp, different spot than Thursday, obviously. Fished most of the day on Friday with again maybe a bite early in the morning, and then I did catch one cranking on a rocky point early afternoon, and 4 o'clock, practice is over with. So the best thing that I had was cranking rocky points. I caught one fish on a Fritz size 7. And so that was my game plan for Friday was, hit all the main lake rocky points I could find, rip wrap. I did Fridays come around a corner and see a boat guy catch probably the biggest bass I've ever seen in person. It was over 10 for sure. I wasn't very far from it. I was coming around kind of like a blind corner, and they were fishing a dock, and they were only about 30 yards away from me probably. And he was already hooked up when I came around the corner, and then I saw him pull it into the boat, and I had a little bit of conversation about that because I actually had that dock marked on my map. I'm not sure why. I did a lot of map study for Lake Murray. I had a lot of pins, a lot of drop offs, a lot of points, a lot of docks. I think that one may have been because it was an isolated dock. It was only a stretch. It was the only dock for 50 to 60 yards either way. And so I did get to witness a huge fish being caught that day. And then Saturday rolls around, and started cranking those points. And it was very windy Friday and Saturday. There were several people that, capsized their kayaks, and everybody made it out safe. I think even Alex Sterling saved somebody on Thursday they had flipped their new native Titan X. I think it was maybe somebody that was newer to the sport, but they had a rear motor and a front motor and some batteries, and the thing was loaded down, and it was windy, and it just took on too much water. And Alex was able to get them back to land safely. And there were several other people that posted similar things on on Friday and Saturday, the first day of the tournament. But luckily, we were able to navigate the wind and the waves and stuff. And I ended up fishing the same kind of area as Alex did, unbeknownst to either of us that we were looking at the same areas. But the areas were huge, and we were maybe sharing it with one other kayaker, and it was 2 to 3 square miles that we were fishing. So it was not an issue at all. Ended up being good because we kind of keep an eye on each other with the bad weather and the wind. And then coming back was an adventure. We both had to stop, get water out of the inside of our kayaks because we were taking water over the front. And it was quite the day on Saturday weather-wise. Ended up maybe like 1:30. I still hadn't caught any fish, and kind of knew my day was done. My weekend was done. And so I went up into some shallower water and just started flipping some stuff. That's really how I like to fish anyway, is kind of flipping shallower cover. And the cranking game is really not my strong suit. However, I do like it. It's just I've never done really well. I can catch some fish here or there, but never really got on a pattern and caught like 30 or 20 fish like you hear some of these guys cranking, getting the school fired up. But fished some shallower stuff and ended up hooking a nice fish. It was probably a 5-pounder, at least 4 to 5 pounds. It's hard to say, but got him about
good on it.
Yeah, it was a good fish. Ended up getting it to the net, halfway in the net, and I couldn't scoop the net because I've changed nets a couple of times, and I had the Yak Attack leverage landing, and the way that's hinged, I didn't like it, so I got a different net that's not hinged, that has some foam around it. And after watching the video of that fish that fish not catch, because he ended up half in the net, half out, the lure came out, and he actually swam out of the net. I mean, I can see it replaying in my head, slow motion, for the past 4 or 5 days. But I think the foam, it has foam around the front of that net. I don't think I could scoop it. It's almost like when I watched the video, it's like, well, you had him. Why didn't you scoop him up? It's almost like it looks like I let him swim out of the net. But I can remember I was trying to scoop that net, and I couldn't get it to go through the water fast enough because the foam that goes around it is super thick. So you can't really zoom it through the water that much. But since then, that foam is no longer around that part of my net. We got rid of that, and we did some surgery on that foam. So now I think that net's going to work better. And that's what it's all about, is trying to go back, figure out what went wrong. That's one reason I'm glad I filmed stuff, just so I can see, like, I probably let off a little bit too much pressure. The hook set was sideways. It was just a calamity of things, but that wouldn't have made the weekend that much better. It would have been a little bit better because I wouldn't have zeroed, but it is what it is. The next day, I got up on Sunday. The weather was much better, but it was cold. And I went to a different ramp that I hadn't been to in any of the practices or Saturday. There were a lot of kayaks in that area, and I called it a day at about 11:30 after, again, no more bites that day. And there were a lot of people that caught really good fish, but I should have probably found some dirtier water. I'm not the best clear water angler, and it was probably more clear than what I needed it to be. And I was even cognizant, I even knew that going into it. After the first area was really clear, and I'm like, oh, this is way too clear. The second area I thought was better, but looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, that was probably still too clear. I probably needed to find a little bit dirtier than what it was. But so that was pretty much the fishing part of it. But all the mornings are putting in and hanging out at the ramp and talking to people because we got there super early. There was a boat tournaments and there was a lot of people. So we got there early and was able to meet some new people and, look at all their setups, which is super fun to do when you go to these bigger tournaments, is look at how people have their kayaks set up, their trailers set up. And of course, everybody wants to talk about, oh, this is what I did here. This is what I did there. And it's cool to me. And that's one of the most fun parts is seeing that. And also, seeing everybody's camping setups. We had about 6 guys that were camping all together. And we were spread out over like 3 different tent sites. So we cooked steaks, we cooked biscuits and eggs and sausage and bacon. And we had a big time for the 4 days that we were down there. We probably ate way too much. And told stories and sat by the campfire, and it was a great weekend. The fishing left a lot to be desired, but that's kind of what you get when that's the first time I ever fished Lake Murray. So to have 2 days to try to kind of figure out something, you always kind of hope you're going to luck up on some pattern or whatever, but you really need. And Lake Murray is huge. It's like, I don't even know the acres, but just looking at it on the map, and it looks about 10 times the size of Jordan. I mean, it's huge. So, probably would have taken me every bit of a week to try to find a few fish, and probably 2 weeks to get on something like those guys were catching. So congratulations to all the guys that did catch them up. And, looking forward to the next time that something like that comes close. So definitely like supporting those national trails and getting those numbers up. It was kind of fun to see 258 people signed up for it. So excited for, I think the Hobies coming to Norman. I might try to do that if baseball, softball, basketball doesn't interfere. But we'll just kind of see how that goes. That's kind of the rundown on my inadequate tournament weekend. But
I hear you. Yeah, I just Googled it. Lake Murray is approximately 50,000 acres and has roughly 650 miles of shoreline.
Yeah, there you go. It's huge. I mean, it's
a big body of water.
It is, and it's a beautiful lake. And I looked at the one fish I did catch cranking. It was a good looking fish, and then the other 4 or 5 pounder that got off. I mean, you could tell those fish were healthy. You could tell by the photos that other anglers were turning in. Super healthy lake, and it's top notch fishery. Just I wasn't in the right place doing the right things.
Right.
You gotta match up the place with what you're doing, and I think my place was off, and what I was doing was probably off. So
I hear you. Yeah, I will never again buy a net that has foam on it anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I had a net that had the foam around it, and you're right, you can't scoop it. And what happened to me was the epoxy of the foam around the handle broke, and it basically spun in my hand and dumped the fish out.
Oh yeah, you've told me that before. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm done with foam nets. I'm using the leverage net right now, and I like it. But
yeah, I still have mine. I may mess around with it some, but honestly, I've netted a lot of fish with that net, and this is the first time I've ever hey, this isn't quite right, and I don't know. And looking back at the video, I have the fish's head coming toward me going into the net, but when it gets to the net, it turns. So actually, I'm netting the tail first. And as I'm trying to net the tail, he's swimming out of the net, and then the lure pops out. So, I probably should have put some more pressure on his head to keep his head going toward the back of the net. But, it all happens so fast. It's like, and honestly, and my wife watched the video and she was like, how did you not break your rods and throw the net and just be super mad? And I was like, honestly, at that point, almost 2:00, I was just happy that I got a bite. You know, I know it sucked to lose the fish, but I was like, okay, hey, all right, I got a bite. And, you know, here I am the whole weekend fishing 15, 20 foot of water, trying to crank these deep crankbaits. And that joker was in about 6 inches of water on a stump. And I'm like, that's how I would much rather be flipping stumps and stuff like that than trying to crank deep.
Yeah.
Or, you know, trying to get shaky heads down there and dragging jigs. And I'm not that guy at 20 feet. I just never have been. Hopefully I will learn and get better at that. But that's just never been me. It's never how I grew up fishing. I always like to flip grass, flip logs, lay downs, you know, docks. I'm good with that. But who knew? Maybe that's, you know, should have been my approach, is to find some timber that was shallow, and that was dirtier water that I was in at that point too. It was Lake Murray's kind of funny because the Saluda River runs in one side, and it was kind of blown out, and that side of the lake was muddy, and then it meets the other side. And so where we were staying at Dreer Island was the center of that. So one side of the island was clear water, the other side was super muddy, like unfishable to me is how muddy it was. And so I got in somewhere that it was kind of mixed, and it was the better color that I like. And I just kind of ended up there because I was just kind of like going back towards the boat ramp, and I'm like, oh, here's a pocket. I'm just going to go in here and flip around for the next hour till this is done. But you know, I had it to do all over again. I'd sign up. I'd do it again. You know, I know there's some Facebook post out there, you know, questioning whether local anglers can do good in national tournaments. And a lot of our North Carolina and South Carolina guys held their own in it. And, you know, super proud of those guys. And if anybody that's out there is listening, you know, if you do your local trails and a bigger trail comes close to you and you can sign up and do it, sign up and do it. Should you expect to get a top 5? Probably not, unless you know the lake super well or you have a week to pre-fish. But it's not all the time about, you know, going to win something. It's about just different experiences and having that many anglers in one place that have a common, you know, a common like and kayak bass fishing. And it's just a cool group of people to be around. And I always learn a lot and from people's setups, and just to hear people talk about how they pre-fish. And I just have a really good time. So I suggest that to anybody. If it comes close to you and you're able to do it, you know, try one out.
Absolutely. All right, man. So a while back we asked listeners to send in questions, and we would answer them on air. And nobody had a single question. So a little while later, we did it again. No one had a single question. So a little while later, we did it again. And this time we actually got one question. So we are going to answer that question in this episode. So Lance and Shelley Pate on Facebook, shout out to them. They've been pretty interactive with the podcast lately. They asked, what's the go-to lure or bait for everyone? And I'm assuming for everyone is like for you and I. So I'll let you go first, and then I will go, because I have a feeling I'm going to take it a different direction than you.
Probably so. If I just had to pick one that's a go-to lure that I have tied on no matter what, it's going to be a Cinco. You can pick Wacky Rig or Texas Rig. I like them both. You know, if I'm flipping around some hardcover laydowns and things that I can see, I'm going to Wacky Rig it every time. If I'm closer to some grass and stuff that Wacky Rig is going to get hung up, I'll I'll Texas rig it. And that's a little bit slower style of fishing, but it catches a lot of fish. And not only do I fish that a lot as my primary technique, but I also have it for any time that I get um, a bite on a different bait that I might be throwing. A lot of times you can throw back in there with a wacky rig or Texas rig Cinco, and you can get that fish to hit it a second time just because it's a change of bait. They missed the first one, but there's a fish there that's ready to eat. So I will follow up a different baits with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So I thought about it for a while, and I was like, this is my favorite bait to throw. This is the oldest one that I've had confidence in, but it's like it said the go-to, the one that when all else fails, this is my go-to, and that's going to be the shaky head.
Oh, okay.
Because I know, like, are there 30 other lures that I'd rather be throwing right now? Yes. But if it's 1:30 on tournament day, I've got an hour and a half left or 30 minutes left or however long left, and I know I need to put something in the boat, I'm going to be throwing that shaky head because I know that is the lure that I know is going to put a fish in the boat. Now, you also said go to lure or bait. So in terms of bait, for like just multi-species, anything, I'm going to say earthworms. And I say earthworms and not night crawlers because
I'm interested in what you're about to say.
Because so if you go and buy night crawlers, they are going to they put out a lot of slime and they have that blood that scents up the water really good, but they cannot last in the heat in North Carolina. But if you go in their backyard and you catch the earthworms that are in your backyard, they are already acclimated to whatever weather it is that you are going to be fishing. So they are going to last so much longer. They're going to be more active, and they are going to, in my opinion, they're just a better bait than going and buying night crawlers. They also are free. So I'm going to say that, and then I'll also throw out, if you're fishing for carp, Wicked Carp Tutti Frutti Boilies is the go-to for me.
Interesting. So I'm going to follow up your earthworm deal with a couple of tips about fishing with worms, because fishing with worms when you're a kid, that's how, or at least Tennessee, that's how everybody learns to fish, is with worms. So number one, I will say I totally agree with you for the night crawler versus the earthworms, but for a different reason. I like night crawlers. I
do too.
never really thought about them dying sooner than regular worms, but you're absolutely correct. The reason I like them better than night crawlers is because I feel like I can thread the earthworm onto the hook where the fish has no choice but to bite the tip of the hook. So when I fish with worms, I slide that worm down the hook. So when you're holding the hook, the worm is actually, the hook is through the center of the worm lengthwise.
Okay.
And so for that fish to bite that worm, he has to bite the tip of the hook. Now, a lot of people will zigzag back and forth and just kind of cram it on there. But especially if you're fishing for something with a smaller mouth or very small perch or whatever, if you don't give them a choice, but the end of that worm is the tip of the hook, you're going to catch that fish. And so for anybody that's fishing the kayak adventure series and thinking about going to the micro bag, there's a little juice for you to trying to catch a micro bag, is thread that worm on a small hook and you'll be able to catch small fish.
You think earthworms are going to be allowed?
Oh yeah, maybe
The
not in that,
microburst,
but
the
no,
microburst.
not in that. It probably is not. But if you were going to do that, the other thing I will say about your about the earthworms is we always the same thing. Like we never heard of buying worms. Like in the country, people they're they don't even sell worms in the country because nobody's buying them because you can just dig them. So even now, and my wife kind of gets a little bit, you have to pick the right area of your yard to do this. But if you go to the corner of your yard where nobody ever goes, or it's around in a, like maybe the crook of your house or the corner of your fence in the fall or whenever, find a bunch of leaves, pile leaves up in the corner of your yard, and you only need probably like a 3 foot by 3 foot section. If you get you a good pile of leaves going, then you can go out there and you can move those leaves. And a lot of times they'll be in between the layer of leaves and the dirt, and there'll just be worms there, especially if it's rained in the last few days. If it hasn't rained in the last few days, move those leaves and dig down just a few inches, and you're going to find all the worms that you want. That's an easy way to get bait that you don't have to stop at the different stores to buy.
Yeah, for sure. And as the father of a toddler, it just adds another element of fun to it, is going out and digging up your worms. And I will say, if you take a pitchfork and stab it down into the ground and just like pulse it back and forth, those worms are just going to come up
Yeah,
to the surface and out. So it just
there you
makes it
go.
a little bit easier.
Worm juice right there.
For sure. All right, so let's think get outdoors real quick, and then we're going to dive into another topic real quick that is um, going to be a little interesting. We're gonna kind of tackle the some stuff that we're not qualified to tackle.
There you go. That's how we.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on the water courses and demos, and will even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or visit them online at shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
Sorry about that, Robert. I cut you off there.
No, it's fine. You're good. Good to go.
All right, so 3 months ago, we had a comment on um, one of our YouTube videos of an episode, and it took me 2 months to respond to them. But the comment said, and clearly, this was trying to get a debate started, and trying to get under our skin and try to get a debate started. But they said, prove God exists. Go ahead, take all the time that you need. So, me being the somewhat snarky person that I am, 2 months later, whenever I finally saw the comment, said, if I, a fishing podcast host, could prove the existence of God, then there'd be no such thing as an atheist, right? Um, I mean, I am I am by no means a theologian. As I put it in the comment, we here at the Faith and Fishing Podcast do not claim to be, we are not nor claim to be theologians or any other kind of theologian. But we are definitely not qualified to do any kind of proving here. But my whole point was that, or I guess my main point, or not point, my main belief in this topic is that anyone who sets out to prove or disprove the existence of God is missing the point. So let's talk about the existence of God a little bit and kind of get each other's thoughts on it. Um, they went on to say that faith is a buzzword that means to believe without question, and that's the very problem. People don't question the very obvious religious indoctrination that has to happen in order to attain faith. So, um, I definitely agree that a lot of people are believing a lot of things without question, and that there is a lot of indoctrination of wrong things happening in a lot of churches. Um, but I I do not agree with the obvious religious indoctrination that has to happen in order to attain faith. Um, because, and let me pull it up here just so I can read it and not. Um, well, I'm not even going to worry with it. So let's talk about what faith is first, right? So, faith is it's assurance, it's hope, it's 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 not just blindly believing anything. It is uh, the assurance of things hoped for, and uh, the gosh, assurance of things hoped for, and the something in things not seen. I can't remember the exact verse in the Bible there, but that first part there, assurance of things hoped for, is these are the things that we hope, and we have confidence in them, and then to believe in the things that we don't see, basically. um, you know I am of the firm belief that you know faith is not a religious thing. you know Everybody has faith in something, whether it's faith in yourself or um, faith in the fact that your car is going to start in the morning whenever you put your key in the ignition. Everybody has faith in something. So you do not have to have a religious indoctrination to anything to attain faith. But I wanted to talk about you know the question, does God exist, and kind of the quest to prove whether or not God exists. So I had a lot of friends that went off to college to study religion and to study Christianity, and I was always worried that if I were to do that, I would end up becoming, and in a lot of ways I've seen that in friends where, and in other people, where they get to the point where they're so educated in the Bible and in God and everything that they no longer seem to need faith. So um, I was always concerned about that, and that was one of the main reasons I didn't jump right into studying religion or anything. And then by the time I tried, it was just not working out for me. So, um, and that wasn't that particular course wasn't working out for me. It was that school was not working out for me, because ADHD and school are they don't always mix very well. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that, and because we're not a debate podcast, we're not going to debate with people, but we do want to just kind of. I will say, thank you for commenting on the video and for bumping the algorithm up a little bit there. Uh, I enjoy that. We'll take all the help we can get in that regard. But let's talk about our talk.
Sure.
I'm rambling here. I need help, Robert.
Yeah. No, you're good. So I think that's something that at one point or another, most people have that question is, is this real? And especially as a kid, when you're going to church and that's just all you've done, and that's part of accepting Christ as an adult, is that you make a choice to believe that, yes, this is real. He is real, and this is the way I'm going to live my life, and the way that and who I'm going to follow. And so I don't think it's an odd question. And the best way for me to answer it is what convinced and still convinces me that God is real is the Bible and the different books, and all of the different manuscripts that were found and put together, written by different people who have the same or very similar accounts of things that Jesus did, different accounts. And like you said before, I am not a biblical scholar, so I can't sit here and rattle off 20, but I can tell you from reading books in the Bible and going back and forth and paying attention to when my pastor is preaching and he says, well, we have this situation here in the book of Matthew. And then if you go in the book of Mark, here is the same situation from Mark's point of view. So those instances and different things like that is the biggest thing that that's why I believe in God is because of the Bible and because of all the different instances. And to me, there's no way that those things couldn't have happened the way those people wrote about it. And then to put this book together that God left us. And the only other thing that I'll say about it is, if you have to get affirmation from two guys who do a fishing and faith podcast of whether or not God's real, you probably might want to check out your local church or one of your local pastors or somebody that's going to help you decipher through that more. And maybe that person has. I don't know who the person is. Maybe they have, and maybe they didn't have a great experience at church. And there's a lot of people out there, myself included, and who don't have great experiences all the time at church. But you know what? You put it in reverse and you go find a different church that you fit in better with, and it may take a little bit. And not knocking churches, just sometimes things aren't good fits for different reasons, for different families and different members of the family. But go find a church and go listen to the word being preached and study and learn it if you really have that question. If you're just asking it, like most people, when they comment on things on the internet, they just want to stir the pot. If that's all you're doing, well, thank you for allowing us the time to answer a tough question that probably most people honestly do question. They're in their own heads, not in a way that this guy was poking fun, really, you know. But I think people struggle with that, and that's okay to struggle with it. I think everybody has struggled with it at one point or another, and I think people believe that God exists for their own reasons, and that's why people's definitions of faith are going to be different. So I'm not sure that really answered his question, but that's why I believe God is real. And that's kind of, the only way that I would know to answer that.
Yeah, for sure. So basically the real answer here is, they said, prove God exists. Go ahead, take all the time that you need. I cannot prove that God exists. I can tell you that I have all the proof that I need because I have experienced God. I have all the proof that I need. I have been a youth pastor and I have seen some amazing things in the church, and I still have doubts from time to time. Like that is how faith works, because you hear something and immediately you know you know you want to challenge it, and you want to go and you want to go fact check it, and you want to go you know if you blindly believe everything that every pastor tells you, then you are probably right now believing a lot of contradictory things at the same time. um it's just that is not a healthy faith, in my opinion. A healthy faith is someone who does go and they challenge whenever they hear something that they don't actually agree with or understand. They go to the person who said it and they say, I don't agree with this, or I don't understand this. Let's talk it out and let's figure out what's going on here. And they go to the Word of God, and they go to the Bible, and they challenge it there, and they go and they research it a little bit. They go and they talk it over with other people. And I'd like to talk it over with believers and non-believers and get a whole bunch of different points of view. And I will say I do that because I am secure enough in my faith, and I am I am well versed enough in a lot of different areas to not feel overwhelmed doing that, and not feel like I'm going down any kind of slippery slope or anything, because I have those foundations. And every so often, I like to go and I like to find those foundations, and then find these other things that I believe. And it's like, does this connect to a foundation somewhere? If not, let's prune that out, and let's explore this further, kind of thing. So I like to keep my foundations, strong and clear, so that I don't have a whole bunch of random things that don't line up with each other or anything. I can go to those foundations, and it's like, this this political issue, is it actually something that has to do with my foundation and my faith? No. Well, then I don't need to be upset about it. I can prune that out of this, and maybe I can listen to what somebody else has to say on this and learn something new, and maybe end up with a new core belief here. So, um, does God exist? Absolutely. Can I prove it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely, I can absolutely share some of my experiences with you, if you're ever curious, or just want to hear those. And I've shared a lot of them on this podcast already. So
Right. Yeah, and I'll throw a little humor here at the end of this to wrap this section up. I was wondering this weekend if God existed, because I was praying to catch fish, and I prayed a lot to catch fish, and I didn't catch fish. And it's one thing that you say, in the intro of this podcast, every week. If who you are as an angler, and when you do bad, then you feel like a bad person. I thought about that this weekend. I'm like, you know what? This weekend was pretty embarrassing. Nobody likes to be embarrassed. I don't like to go to a tournament and not catch any fish. And it's embarrassing. Not just it is what it is. But at the same time, guess what? When I came home and my kids were asking me how I did, and how was it camping and all that. So I'm like, oh man, camping was great. It was a tough day fishing, but I made so many new friends, and I highlighted all the great things and all the things that make me me. And their softball and their baseball season started this week, and we've already, sports are such a great avenue for people to learn lessons, but you know, sometimes they have great games and sometimes they don't have great games. Well, each one of them has already had some not great games already this week, and so you know they're kind of down on themselves a little bit, and probably kind of the way that I was feeling after the fishing tournament, a little bit embarrassed because they're both great ball players, but there's some things that they just didn't do well in each of their games. And so I just went right back to that and said, you know what? It's kind of like me fishing this weekend. I said, that was pretty embarrassing for your dad. And you know what, though? Um, you take a step back and it's like, well, you do baseball and you do softball for fun. That doesn't make you who you are. Who you are is how you follow Jesus, the Lord, how you treat other people. The life that you live every day is what makes you who you are, and that's what people see. So don't feel embarrassed when you don't do things up to whatever standard somebody has for you, or sometimes even your own standards. And so I look back on that, and this is something, that I say in my intro is, God's timing is perfect. And maybe he did that this weekend so I would be able to comfort my kids when they didn't do as well as they thought they should have. So that was funny at the first of it, but maybe not at the end.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, we are coming up on getting pretty close to the hour mark. So let's move into what's your favorite, and let's shift over and have some fun here.
Let's do it.
It's time for What's Your Favorite, powered by Nakwa Adventure Gear. Power that fits in the palm of your hand.
All right. So this is what's your favorite, powered by Nakwa Adventure Gear. Go to nakwa.com and check out their line of batteries, connectors, lights, all that good stuff. And like I said, email info@nakwa.com and let Heidi know that Faith and Fishing sent you, and see if something special doesn't happen for you. All right, Robert, I asked you to think of a what's your favorite question.
Yeah,
Hit me
so
with it.
I got a couple of them because I can't remember if I've asked you this before, but my number one, I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say favorite movie of all time.
Favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, favorite movie.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I was a movie buff for so long. I'm going Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, that's a good one. Dude, that's one of those when you're flipping through and you roll past TNT and that thing's on. It's like, oh gosh, because I can't go to sleep if it's on. I have to watch it.
Yeah,
There's a few movies that are like that for me, and that's one of them.
it's as close to a perfect movie as I think I've seen. It's just so good,
That's
so
in
well done.
That's in my top 5 for sure. That's a good one.
What about you, man?
If I had to pick top movie, it's Tombstone all the way. Yeah, Tombstone. No question. There's not even a close second. If there was, it may be Shawshank Redemption, but it's still Tombstone. I'll take Tombstone every day.
I hear you. All right. Well, that was a good one. I'm gonna go. What is your favorite? Your favorite bait caster under $200?
That's easy. I'd take the Shimano SLX. Just
Okay.
regular, yeah. I have 3 of them, 3 of the 150s, and I think they're all 3 different speeds. And I may have 4 of them, But when I buy a new reel now, that's what I buy, and it's not the DCs; it's just the regular SLXs. And I mean, they've been durable. They cast a mile. Um, those three rods I don't backlash very much at all, if any. Now my other ones, there's a few times this weekend I had to just put rods down because I screwed it up so bad. Once the line was wrapped around the end and I didn't know it, and I was chunking. Especially with those crankbaits, man, I was rearing back and I was letting them fly far as they could, try to get those deep crankbaits down. And man, I reared back and let that thing fly, and it was wrapped around the end. And I looked down, and I mean, bird's nest is not the word for it. I mean, it was like a damn eagle's nest. Um,
Oh
it was
man.
horrible. So I ended up I just put that rod down. I didn't even mess with it. I did take that bait off and put it on another rod because I wanted to keep throwing that. It was a dredger crankbait because I was trying to get it down super deep, but I ended up having to just cut the line out of that. I wasn't even messing with it. I brought some
Yeah,
extra line. I just re-spooled it. So
I hear you. Yeah, I have not used the SLXs. I've been told they just might change my opinion on Shimano's.
yeah, I
So
love them.
I might have to give them a try at some point. Right now, my answer to this one I'm going to say is the Lose KVD reels,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they fish like I'm going to say they fish so smooth. And the parts on them just work, and they're well
Yeah.
thought out. And especially if you go and you go and buy like a Gomex's handle or knobs or something and upgrade it a little bit, that is a killer reel for like $150. Especially if you can find one used somewhere. That's what I did. And I got
Heck
mine
yeah.
for less than $100. Um, and man, they they have all the features of like a what is it like the tournament speed spool
Right.
um, from theirs, except the handle is shorter, and then a few other things. So I mean, no surprise, I think KVD knocked it out of the park there.
Yeah. So I don't have the KVD, but I do have a couple of loose reels, and I think I have two of them that are on my rods now, and I love both of those. So right now, I think I've got maybe 3 or 4 SLXs, 2 loos. I've got an old Daiwa. I don't even know the name of it. It's a flipping reel, but it casts really well too. But it's got a flipping setting on it where you can just flip and stop it with the button. I haven't actually. I don't even know where I got that reel from, but it's a pretty cool reel. And I haven't even looked up how old it is or whatever. But it's an older reel. It's kind of boxy. And then my other reel
I know
is
which one you're talking about.
my other one
Is it
is
a Quantum?
I don't think it says quantum on it.
Okay.
Um, but it might. I mean, like all of the stuff's worn off of. Like most of my
Yeah.
reels look relatively. I don't want to say new, but they're not all scratched up and stuff. But this one, I mean, it looks like it rode around the back of somebody's truck. But I really don't know where I got it from. I have no idea how I came about this reel. It may have been something my son had, and then I kind of, you know, he left it sitting around, and I took it over. Maybe I'm not sure. And then the last one, I have an old Abu Garcia that I've had that reel since I was a kid, and that thing will cast a daggone mile. And I throw my A rig on it. Um, that's that's pretty much. I'm not really a real snob, and there's a lot of people like, oh, I only want to hit this Corrado, blah blah blah, and I'm sure they're great reels, but um, I'm going to keep throwing the ones that work well. And now I have gotten rid of some that were garbage, because
Yeah.
they just didn't work well. And that's, what I've replaced with the SLXs or whatever. But as long as they throw the bait out there and reel them in, and I don't know, I just keep on using them.
Yeah, the reason I've been kind of collecting loos here lately is whenever I flip my kayak, that video that's in the intro
Mm-hmm.
there, whenever I flip my kayak, all of my loos still worked. Like the next day, all of my loos reels worked the day I bought them. The other reels that I had, the Daiwas, that were much more expensive,
Not so
just
much.
no, nah, they were like, ew, I got wet,
Yeah.
and and they never fished the same way again. And maybe I just need to go get them cleaned and everything, but it just left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But the it was less that Daiwa left such a bad taste in my mouth, and more that I was just super impressed by Luz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I said, I could go get those reels cleaned and they'd be fine. It's just a matter of finding somebody who has time to do it.
Yeah.
That
That's
it's not
tough.
going to be sitting. That it's not going to be off of my rod for 6 months.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to know what your other one was.
I think it was. I looked up a whole list, but I think the other one that I was going to go with is what's your favorite fast food?
Fast food.
Yes.
Mm. For me, I love as much as I love eating fast food all day long. I love breakfast from fast food places.
Any
And
particular fast food breakfast or place or item?
oh man. So I think there's two front runners, and that's Biscuitville and Bojangles.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head. I'm telling
Um,
you, hey, Biscuitville's on point.
Biscuitville,
Biscuitville is the deal. Now you're only gonna come out of there with one arm and one leg because they're gonna charge you your other arm and your other leg for a daggone sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. But it's good though.
so from Biscuitville, the ultimate bacon, egg, and cheese
Yeah.
is
I get the ultimate sausage, egg, and cheese.
is so good.
Yeah.
But I'm going a like Cajun filet biscuit combo, add egg and cheese
Okay. I add
with
cheese. I don't usually add the egg.
with
You going bow rounds or fries?
I'm actually choosing between bow rounds and cheese grits.
Okay.
But I think it's gonna be so if I'm from Bojangles, I'm going bow rounds. From Biscuitville, I'm going cheese grits.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd go bow rounds from Bojangles. And then you got to throw in the bowberry biscuit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
you got to get that.
All right. So what's your favorite fast food?
I wasn't even thinking about breakfast, so I agree with what you said on breakfast, but otherwise on breakfast, it's really down to two. You can't go wrong with Chick-fil-A, and really I like everything on their menu. I like their customer service. But at the same time, a lot of times I'm just looking to hop in somewhere, hop out. And Chick-fil-A now, it's going to take you a little bit to get through the line. Even though they're very efficient at what they do, everybody loves Chick-fil-A. So besides the Chick-fil-A sandwich, my other front runner forever is always a double cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Okay.
But now, I mean, even the double cheeseburger from McDonald's is pretty expensive. So
Yeah.
you roll back about 10 years, that double cheeseburger was 99 cents, and that was
Mhm.
with two pieces of cheese. And
Mhm.
then they went they went up on that because it was on the dollar menu. They took that off the dollar menu and added what's called the McDouble. Well, it's not a McDouble. It's double the meat, but it's only one piece of cheese. I'm sorry, but you can't have a double cheese burger with only one piece of cheese. So I'm just like, so then they put the McDouble on the 99-cent menu. And I'm not a fan of the McDouble. I've got to have both pieces of cheese on that joker. So I've always just ordered the plain double cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke. And now, though, I think the double cheeseburger now is like $3.49, $3.89. It's
Yeah,
up there just for the regular double cheeseburger that 10 years ago was 99 cents.
I mean a McDouble combo is like $9.
Man, it's like everything. And then
But
now I guess the hot topic is Wendy's surge pricing. I don't know if you've seen anything on that.
Wendy's is complete garbage. I have nothing nice to say
Yeah.
about Wendy's.
Well,
And so I have nothing. I don't know anything about Wendy's because I don't keep up with them because I'm not going to eat their food.
so what they're going to do, and I will eat Wendy's sometimes. And I think it's all, and this has come from somebody that was in the restaurant business for a very long time. And we had, when I left, like 400 units. You can go to one restaurant and it can be, blow the doors off. You go over to the next town to the same restaurant and it's hot garbage. And it's just according to the people in the restaurant make it where they make it. So, going back to Wendy's surge pricing though, they are going to charge more during peak times for the same menu items. So like yeah. So if you get this whatever ABC combo, it's normally $8. Well, from 11:45 to 1:30, it's going to be $10. And I don't know the exact pricing, but to charge more during peak times is crazy. And you know what happens when one of them starts doing it, then the next it'll be McDonald's, it'll be Taco, it'll be everybody
Leave
will
it
have
to
this
Wendy's.
flex pricing.
Leave it to Wendy's. But I will say this, and this, given our demographic, this is going to be a very controversial take, and I am probably going to make a lot of people very angry here. Chick-fil-A is the most overrated fast food restaurant of all time. Just
I
because
don't know.
you say my pleasure instead of you're welcome does not give you the right to charge me $15 for a mediocre chicken sandwich combo. And anybody who uses waffle fries instead of any other kind of fries is you're doing it wrong.
Ah, man, I don't
And
know. I
I
think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one.
I am not a fan of Chick-fil-A, and I think I think they just kind of got lucky in terms of they are able to kind of they
You
use their
you think it's all marketing is what you're saying.
I think they use their stance on faith and politics to make certain people like their food whenever it's not really that good.
Hmm. Well, I like their food. I like their service. I've always felt they did a good job. I like the chicken sandwich and I like the waffle fries. Now, I will say if you give me fries right out of the fryer and you go my next I would say my favorite fry is McDonald's French fries. It's just something about McDonald's French fries. I love them. But the Chick-fil-A waffle fry is right there when they're both hot out of the grease. Okay? I like them both. I know you're shaking your head, but you get the same French fry and you wait 2 minutes on each one. The waffle fry is hot garbage, and the McDonald's fries are still pretty good, even when they're sitting for a while under the heat lamp or they've been out of the grease for a while. The McDonald's fries and other fries hold longer than the waffle fries. But if you get the waffle fries and they're hot and fresh, man, they're tough to beat, I think.
Again, hot take here, like controversial take. Just a normal French fry, a bad A bad French fry is better than a good waffle fry.
No. Okay, so if you're still listening to this, please comment and let us know where you stand on the uber important issue of what fries are better. You don't even have to comment on the fact of whether God exists or not in that whole conversation, but we really want to know which fries you like the best. I'm just joking about that. You can comment on both of those items, but please let us know if you're still listening to this,
And I
so we
can't
can
be the
settle
only
this
one.
debate.
I can't be the only one. Tell me there's other people out there that feel the same way about
And
Chick-fil-A as me.
I'm just telling you, if you go by and you drive by all the fast food restaurants, let the line do the talking, because hey, sometimes you got 2 and 3 wide going through Chick-fil-A that are 20 cars deep. And you look over at Burger King, they can't even get somebody on a bicycle to go through the drive-through. And
And yet,
I'm just telling you.
I would much rather have a Whopper than anything on
Hey, I
Chick-fil-A.
like Burger King. I like
Also,
Burger King.
how can you call yourself a chicken restaurant if you don't have any bone-in chicken?
It's still chicken though. They just took the
Come
bone
on.
out.
All right, so let's do one more. One more. What's your favorite? Maybe this one will be a little bit less controversial. All right, your favorite soda.
That's a tough one. I could only pick one. If I'm only picking one, I got to go Coca-Cola. If you tell me because I'm going to say these are neck and neck. Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper is right there too.
Okay.
But those are my two go-tos. But I will say, if I had to pick one, it'd be Coca-Cola. But man, Dr. Pepper's good too. What about you?
So I'm not mad at you for either one of those choices. Both good choices. For me, the pinnacle of soda is IBC root beer out of a glass bottle.
Oh yeah, now that's good. We carried that in our restaurants the whole time I worked there, in a glass bottle, and there was nothing like going in the walk-in cooler when those things were about 33 degrees and cracking one of those open. They're good.
Yeah, I love root beer.
Mm-hmm.
And like root beer is one of those things that I can really like get into the nitty gritty on a bunch of different kinds.
Yeah,
But
the IBC is good.
IBC
That's
is
good.
very, very good.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite. I do like Cheerwine, but it's one of those that it's so sweet that I have to be in the right mood for it.
Yeah. Same.
And if I'm in the mood for Cheerwine, there's nothing else in the world that can satisfy me.
Mm.
But IBC root beer is the peak for me.
So since we're talking about soda, as you called it,
Oh Lord.
here's a fun fact for you. Here's a fun fact, because in Middle Tennessee, nobody says soda, but what they do say is Coke.
Okay.
So if you go somewhere and you say, I'll take a Coke, the server will ask you, well, what kind of Coke do you want? And that's just for Middle Tennessee now. And now it may have changed over the years, but it was always when I was growing up, hey, I want a Coke. Well, what kind of Coke do you want? Well, I'll take a Sprite. But it's always been funny to me to hear other people say soda or pop or whatever. And then Middle Tennessee, it was always, Coke is just general for that. It's like if somebody saying soda or pop.
I thought you were gonna say pop, and I was like, man, it's Crappy Crappie all over again.
Yeah, no. I just thought that. I've always thought that was funny. Like, how can just one thing be, you know, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, my granddaddy, I'm pretty sure all sodas to my granddaddy were Pepsi Colas.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I get it. All right, man. Well, that does it for what's your favorite. So probably the most controversial
There you
what's your
go.
favorite we have ever done. um, Probably the most controversial things I've ever gotten there. on the Chick-fil-A debate. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead. Let's close it out in prayer. You want to close us out tonight?
Yeah, man, I'll do it. Sounds good. Dear Lord in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to get on here and talk about you and talk about our lives and fishing and the things that bring us closer to you. Please watch over us and the other anglers and the other listeners of this podcast, wherever and whenever they may be listening. Please shine the light on them and help them find ways to bring people around them closer to you. And forgive us of our sins. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, man. Go ahead and sign us out.
That sounds good, guys. We will see you next week. And I'm Robert. I'll see you next week.
I'm Cam. And I'll see you next week, too.
Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. Please consider supporting those that support us. Jade's Jigs lead-free finesse tackle. Use promo code FNF10 at jadesjigs.com for 10% off. Save your outdoors. Stop losing your gear. Use promo code FNFP15. SaveYourOutdoors.com for 15% off. Omnia Fishing. Check out Premium, Premium Pro, and their Ambassador program. Use promo code FNF10 for 10% off at OmniaFishing.com. And if it's your first order, use promo code FNF15 for 15% instead. Mr. B Lure Company. High-quality handmade baits made right here in the U.S. MrBLureCompany.com. Use promo code FaithAndFishingPod for 15% off your first purchase. Get outdoors, pedal and paddle. Check them out at the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or at ShopGetOutdoors.com for all your paddling and cycling needs. And Nocqua Adventure Gear, lighting, power, and all the connectors at Nocqua.com. Please rate, review, subscribe on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.